The factory must grow, because I'm gonna need to mass produce delicious, colorful science juice. Also, I'm gonna need to figure out a way to deal with these handsome locals. I don't think they like the fragrance of my factory. I played 100 Days of Factorio. It all begins with an explosive mess on an alien planet. Okay, here we are, we've crashed. Your task is to launch a rocket into space. You need to research advanced technologies. Start small, work your way up with automation. And don't forget to protect yourself from the natives. I'm in the desert, man. Got a little bit of water over here. I took stock of the nearby natural resources on the map and got cracking. I played this game quite a lot a few years ago. I'd forgotten heaps, but I had buried knowledge to unlock that I'm sure gave me a bit of a head start compared to a complete newbie. Oh yeah, it's all coming back, man. Do it this way for now. We'll put this here, and in here we'll chuck the 3. I started with that burner mining drill, which consumes fuel in order to mine resources. And as you can see, I've set it up on this coal node, with a wooden chest in front of it so coal can stack up in there. To scale up production, I was gonna need more drills, and for that I needed iron. But it was a bit of a job to get to the starter iron node. It's a shame it's so spread out, dude. I aggressively whacked the iron, collecting a handful of ore. While we're here, let's just chuck this down. This was my other starting item, a stone furnace, in which I placed coal as fuel to turn the iron ore into iron plates. What am I trying to make? How do I make the iron wheels again? After grabbing the 15 iron plates that were ready, I discovered I could queue up stuff to craft while on the go. Okay, so I can handcraft these pretty quickly. Next, I needed stone to craft more furnaces. Alright, where's my stone at? Oh no, the stone's all the way down here. This is a disaster. So I picked up my furnace and got my jog on. For context, sometimes the game spawns all your starter resources neatly right next to each other. Not on this map seed though. This seed was determined to get me doing some cardio. Look at the way I run. You're getting a really good knee lift. I actually approve. I swung by and grabbed a decent stack of 41 coal that had built up before finally arriving down at the stone. I'd crafted enough iron plates to build my second burner mining drill, so I whacked that down and got some stone collecting happening. I made some more stone furnaces, which cost 5 stone apiece, and as day 2 dawned, I was back where I started by the coal. Beautiful. And then we do some of these ones. This is something I learned in my Factorio days of old. You just get them feeding fuel into each other. This means they'll never run out of fuel, and we'll both fill up to a max stack of 50, which I can regularly collect as I run around like an idiot trying to get my base established. And make no mistake, this early game was a bonanza of idiotic running. I gotta run all the way back. This is turning into a running simulator. Is this Death Stranding? I savagely hacked at the iron until I had enough plates to get a mining drill up and running, and I fed this one straight into a stone furnace in what was my first baby step towards automating iron plates. I of course had to hand feed this contraption coal for fuel, so it wasn't fully automated, but you've got to start somewhere. I took some plates and back down at the coal, 2 became 4 in my little coal mining massage train. I collected some stone and chopped down the very few trees nearby so I had wood handy to use for chests, and I was feeling good. We should be pretty flush for coal now. Good news for all Australians. I do need a bunch more iron. Soon enough, I had 3 stone furnaces being fed iron ore, and I made my first venture into the world of copper, an essential for electrical components which I'll be needing real soon. I doubled my stone collecting efforts too, and made sure they were well stocked with fuel because I didn't want to have to run down here too often as my calves were quite sore. What should I bother automating? I think I should just get power up and skip burner inserters. Right? Burner inserters can be used as automation tools without the need for electricity, but I hated the idea of having to hand feed coal into machines for any longer than I had to, so I began work towards my first power plant. After grabbing a healthy stack of iron plates, I headed to the nearby oasis. And would you believe even this game has fishing? These raw fish are very handy, as you can eat them to restore health if you're ever savaged by the local cockroach population. Alright, let's look at some ratios here. Consumes... wait, what? I used my elite mathematical prowess to determine that a water pump pumping 1200 units of water per second can provide enough for 20 boilers, consuming 60 units of water to produce 60 units of steam per second, and each boiler can provide that steam to 2 steam engines, as each engine uses 30 units of steam per second. Whew, that is just about as easy as the maths gets in this game, and I'd already had 2 strokes and was hemorrhaging brain blood from my ears by this point. Good signs. I chopped some trees, as I knew I needed a bunch of wood for power line poles, and I whacked down the pump and tried to figure out a smart way to arrange the boilers and steam engines. I placed them down, removed them. I placed them down, removed them, placed them down again. That's not the right spacing. I eventually settled on this beauty, but I'd run out of iron plates for pipes, and I needed transport belts too in order to transport coal over to actually fuel this monstrosity. Fortunately, me taking 55 years, it's gonna mean that a lot of stuff got stocked up. There's like 200 coal for me. I paid a visit to the iron setup too. I'm gonna make myself light armor in case I get into a scrap with some nerds. And the copper setup. I crafted pipes, including some underground pipes to make things a little tidier, and some transport belts too. This belt will bring coal over, but as you can see, I don't have anywhere near enough. I should have done more with the burnable production, I think. I should have made it much bigger. Oh, bro, I forgot about research. Look at this research tree, man. That's... I've done literally nothing. Seeing that giant research tree did indeed slap me in the face with a sense of how little I had achieved. But honestly, that was silly. Don't despise small beginnings. I expanded my iron plate production before running off to collect more coal and stone, but I got a little distracted fiddling around in the crafting menu. Oh crap. Oh crap, I did not mean to go this far down. I was not concentrating. I actually had a pistol and a couple of magazines of ammo on me, but I didn't realize this, so I just ran like a goose hoping they'd stop chasing me at some point. They did not. I need to run them away from my base. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so stupid. Ultimately, it was no big deal as I respawned back at the crash site and was able to collect the loot from my dead body. I figured out pressing Alt did something very useful. It shows an icon of what each machine is producing. This is very handy and I was very pleased. How do I shoot? How do I shoot, dude? This time I clearly remembered I had a gun, but I did not remember how to shoot. I scrambled to look at the control settings. Apparently it's spacebar. Alright, we're good, we're good. Those two aliens attacked because the pollution from the coal burning reached their hive. And this will become an increasingly challenging problem as my pollution becomes even more offensive to the natives, and as they evolve and grow in numbers. For now though, I was just happy to figure out a quick way to collect stuff from the machines. Control click lets me pick it up without having to click in it. That's great news for all Australians. Okay, good, good, good. As you can see, I hadn't yet learned the quick way to feed items into machines, but I did soon enough. My iron plate production had chugged along nicely while I was being murdered by giant bugs, so I was able to extend the belt all the way to the coal and begin crafting some electric mining drills. While I was setting up my coal mining operation, some more friends visited. Alright. You got nothing on me this time. I know how to shoot now. Okay, they do not like the pollution. I ran power lines from the coal mining drills over to the power plant, placed down 2 inserters, and chucked some coal in each boiler to get the whole operation up and running. We've got 3.6 megawatts. Should see some coal coming along here now. Beautiful. Okay, easy. And just like that, electric power. Next, I began running power lines up north to the iron node, except I need wood. I wandered over to this forest with impressive chunky trees and chopped a bunch before getting to work setting up an iron mining setup. It was essentially identical to the coal setup, with rows of electric mining drills feeding ore straight onto transport belts, with space in there for power poles to provide the electricity. Oh crap. That wonderful noise means that somewhere on the map, an alien is munching on your factory. Oh crap, there's so many of them. I managed to shoot them all down, but I lost half my health. Although I did have fish I could have eaten to top up my health, so this was a reasonably manageable attack. They destroyed my burner mining drills though. Very rude behavior. I proudly surveyed my successful power setup, before adding some more coal drills, which I belted up north to fuel my next project, automating iron plates. I of course had to get power up there too, so power lines soon followed. Why is there no power? Hello? Trust me to miss one connection right back at the bottom of the daisy chain. Am I an absolute dingus? With that sorted, the electric drills began pumping out iron ore. I decided to craft some labs, which are used to unlock the abundance of research options from that giant research tree I showed you earlier. As I placed down the beautiful igloos, some more gooses arrived to destroy my little copper setup, which again was rude. And since I had over 30 stone furnaces, I decided to use a few to create a wall in hopes it would distract them during their next onslaught. Oh, what? Why did I make the labs? How do I make the red science? Oh, I can just make it. I have no idea why I sound so stressed there, but I began making red science juice out of iron gear wheels and copper plates. These science packs can be placed into the labs to facilitate research. I began researching automation. And with the dawn of day 9, I decided it was time to turn the heat back on them pesky cockroaches. I had plenty of iron plates on me so I could craft extra ammo on the go. And I managed to take down these poison mucus spitty wormy boys, but when it got to unleashing my pea shooter on the spawners, I need more firepower. Okay, never mind. I put more red juice in a lab. The automation research needs 10 red science packs to complete, so this was enough to do it. Soon it was done, so I queued up electronics to research next, and I now had access to assembling machines and long-handed inserters. At this point, I really should have set up some assembling machines to start crafting handy stuff like iron wheels and electronics, just so I didn't have to handcraft so much crap, as this can really clog up your crafting menu as you can see down here. But instead of doing that, I got distracted by some more maths. Is it just 3.2 times 15? Is that right? I can have 48 stone furnaces on one. Okay. I won't bombard you with all the details this time, but yes, I was right. Just know that expanding the factory requires an understanding of how fast each machine produces each item, how fast those items can be transported through your logistics system, and how many inputs per second each machine needs to produce a certain number of outputs per second. In this case, a full yellow belt of iron ore can indeed fully supply 48 stone furnaces, which will produce 15 iron plates per second. But for now, I just got the ball rolling with a modest 12 stone furnaces. I began placing inserters on the right here so I could run coal to power the furnaces, but I suddenly remembered that was a bad plan. Oh, I know what you do. Wait.
hang on.
It was all coming back to me, except I needed a ton more iron plates, so I picked up a bunch of coal from the belt and hand-fed the furnaces. While waiting for plates to smelt, I whacked down an assembling machine and had it begin crafting iron gear wheels, and...
This is all hand-fed still, but it's better than nothing. Let's get some red science happening. Copper gear, okay, that's fine.
I placed chests full of copper plates and gears to feed into the assembler, and got that red science chugging along.
Continue researching by hand feeding, at least get ahead that way. Okay, this is good, this is good. Can I show pollution? How do I show pollution? Okay, yeah, there we go.
As you can see, the cloud of putrid fog emanating from my glorious factory reached the nearby alien hives, hence their repeated attacks. As that fog expands, more hives will be offended and the attacks will increase, so some kind of defense was high on the list of priorities.
Get out of here, no! Oi! You cheeky buggers.
I now had the iron plates to execute on my realization, a better way to feed coal into these furnaces. Basically, it comes down to making use of the fact that the transport belts have two sides. You can have the iron ore on one side and the coal on the other side.
It's fueling them all up. Beautiful. Okay, that's good.
Having both items on one belt obviously saves a bunch of space. I got logistics researching before setting up a belt for the completed iron plates to feed onto, and tearing down the copper burner mining drills to be replaced with electric drills.
Oh crap.
That is a lot of buggy boys. They destroyed a few of my drills, which made me go... This inspired me to get machine gun research underway, because my handgun wasn't really cutting it. It was soon done, and I began researching a projectile damage upgrade next. And I handcrafted some underground belts and splitters, which are very handy for belting up the factory. But I gotta be honest, I spent most of day 12 running in circles, feeling overwhelmed as I tried to decide what to work on next. On day 13, I had an opportunity to flex my new machine gun. The pile of fish I had handy came in clutch too, as I munched on sushi to top up my health.
Now, I need to figure out what the hell I'm doing.
Just as I resolved to figure out how to make a full 48 stone furnace smelter array, some more silly aliens attacked.
You know what? I'm just gonna kill these guys now.
And so I jogged off west, and with my increased firepower, I was able to clean up this alien hive. I had a quick fish too. Drawing on a design similar to what I used playing years ago, I whacked down a line of 24 furnaces, a belt onto which the iron plates would be placed, and another line of furnaces on the other side. On either side of the furnaces, I placed a belt for the copper and coal, and I made my first use of a splitter to peel off a bunch of coal from my coal line over here, and my first use of underground belts to finagle the belt work so that the whole thing could fit together.
And then you just need a whole bunch of inserters.
A whole bunch of inserters indeed, and power to the whole thing too. I then accidentally pressed Shift plus spacebar and went into grid mode.
Huh? What is this? Shift spacebar? What the hell? Okay, my bad.
A dingus attacked down here, so I handcrafted some turrets and chucked a few magazines in each of them. The enormous amount of inserters I needed was forcing me to handcraft tons of electronics, which isn't a big deal in small numbers, but it gets real slow at scale. So I figured it would be prudent to get a little green electronics factory going. I set it all up, so all I needed to do was hand feed copper and iron plates into these feeder chests every now and then. I whacked down all them inserters, got all the power hooked up, and...
That is officially 15 copper plates per second. We finally did it.
Except I didn't actually have enough mining drills to produce the copper ore to sustain 15 copper plates per second, but that was beside the point. I did it to figure out how to do it. But I really should have done it with iron ore, because I needed iron plates way more urgently than copper plates. But who knows why a goose on the loose does what it does. I got weapon shooting speed research chugging along, wept the murder of my glorious stone setup at the hands of some cockroaches, and then figured I might as well tap the entire coal node, so I covered that sucker in mining drills. And then I finally acknowledged the truth.
Somehow I've prioritized copper over iron, which is just like completely ridiculous.
I added some lights to the setup, and with the finished product created a blueprint.
What do you call this? Like an array? Smelter array.
I chucked the blueprint down over here. These furnaces will produce iron plates, and as you can see, a ghosty version of the setup was plonked down. Later on, you do get robots that can build for you based off blueprints, but for now it was at least handy as a guide. I was soon distracted by an assault on my power plant, and while down there I noticed I was now using about 2/3 of my max power, so I figured it was time to expand. 4 more steam engines, a couple more boilers, and my power was doubled, no worries. I got some defenses down too, a dodgy furnace wall and some turrets. The rest of day 18 was spent finishing up the iron smelter array, while keeping the red science research chugging along. I added a bunch of mining drills to fill up the belt with 15 iron ore per second, and I decommissioned the little smelting setup over here for now. While I was in the drill placing mood, I expanded the copper ore drills out too, and then I admitted
I should have scaled up more instead of just going straight for an entire giant smelting array on both copper and iron.
I don't exactly know what I should have done instead though. Getting an efficient smelting setup sorted is a pretty good foundation to move forward with. After tidying up my defenses down here, I pep talked myself with a bit of a game plan.
Let's get everything useful automated, transport belts, underground splitters, the science itself we want to get producing.
And then my wife Alyssa joined the fray. I call her Sa. She had a great start.
I can't even move. I forgot how to move.
I made a giant mess up here.
Oh, what the hell did I just do?
And Sa decided to clean up the mess from my crash landing.
How come I can't see you swinging your arms? You're just standing there and they mysteriously disappear. That's powerful.
Sa played Factorio with me years ago, but she is not the most confident gamer.
I'm intuiting that my one contribution might be that I cleaned out the crash site.
She was actually quite nervous jumping into game with me because she fears she'll get clowned on in the comments, so drop some nice comments for the wife down below to boost her gamer ego. As I extended the power plant some more, she belittled my defensive efforts.
Are you using like a line of furnaces as your defense?
Yep. Actually, that's something we need. We need stone. I don't have any stone. You can set up stone and then stone brick.
Yes, I think I can do that.
And then from there, you can get walls happening. Maybe get a perimeter happening.
And so Sa became chief of security and pest control. I set up some temporary defenses while she got the stone operation up and running down south, and it was time to use this belt of iron plates to automate some useful goodies. First up, some bullets. This one was very straightforward as it just uses iron plates and nothing else. Next, I automated belts, which uses gears plus plates. By the way, all that fine talk about inputs and outputs per second, logistics and all that, went out the window for automating these individual useful items. I just wanted each machine to fill up a few stacks in a chest and then sit there doing nothing until a refill was needed. And I randomly ran off west, did some fishing, destroyed the home of some aliens to the northeast, and then to the east of my base. Next, I automated underground belts, which used transport belts plus iron plates, so that was straightforward. And then things got a little trickier as I looked towards automating splitters, as these require copper to get involved. More specifically, copper wire. These blue inserters are faster ones that I researched, by the way, and the red ones are long boy inserters that can reach over belts. As I worked on the electronics, Sa had some bad news regarding the stone setup.
Your brain is gonna be sad.
These copper wires were the first ingredient towards making some electronic circuits, and I'm quite certain I put down way more copper wire assemblers than I needed, but it's fine. The other ingredient is iron plates, so I set it up like so with long boy inserters. Happy days. As I did this, I tried to make things vaguely neat, but you really need an intricate knowledge of the game in order to think ahead and plan out the position of everything effectively. So I decided that ultimately I would just build the factory out organically and embrace the spaghetti mess of belts going everywhere. I headed down to see if what Sa was working on would indeed hurt my brain.
It's not too bad. It's fine. You can pack in more miners. It just kind of mines the area faster, but
Yeah.
that'll be fine.
It actually wasn't fine, as you'll see soon. With the completion of the green science pack research, I'd hit a roadblock in my research rampage. I now needed to craft some of that green juice in order to progress any further. But first I wanted to get more of the essentials automated.
Oh, I'm such a dingo. Oh my gosh.
What happened, Dingo?
I'm a dingo.
I didn't notice before when I checked.
Freaking dingo.
The astute will notice Sa failed to leave space for inserters to actually place the bricks onto the belt. Dingo indeed. Sa worked away correcting her mistakes down in Stoneland, and I got back to automating. I was basically constantly finagling belts around, solving problems to do with mathematics, usage of space, and how to connect this to that, and let's be honest, it is a pure joy. What a game Factorio is. After much failure, which inspired me to exclaim,
What the heck am I doing?
I finally managed to work it such that the electronics and gears shared a belt. Apparently, I was very proud of myself.
This is the stupid lengths we have to go, dude, for my dumb plan.
I don't really know what my problem was because this is looking glorious.
Automating miners and assembly machine tier 1.
Next, I noodled some electronics around the corner and set up a splitter factory. I needed iron plates over there too, so I whacked down a sneaky inserter to steal them from the main line.
Okay, we got a bunch of crap automated. Happy days for all Zimbabweans.
Imagining someone commenting as a Zimbabwean. I'm very happy.
I can only imagine sheer joy. The mention of the Zimbabwean national on the Floydson channel. Look at this wall. This is significant defense. Defense.
You're the biggest dingo I've ever met in my life.
Excuse me?
As Sa expertly erected a wall around the factory, I turned my sights to automating red science juice. I decided to try and automate 2 per second. Since they take 5 seconds to craft, I was going to need 10 assembling machines to achieve this. Since I only needed the 1 iron gear assembling machine for this, I decided to tuck it over here so I could steal some copper plates from the main line with a splitter and combine the 2 onto 1 belt. I placed down the 10 assemblers 5 aside, ran both the input and output belts in between, and then I realized I forgot something.
Wait, am I making inserters somewhere? I'm not making inserters anywhere. Okay, that's what we need to add.
I began working on that, and fortunately the belts here had exactly the composite materials I needed. But I ended up handcrafting what I needed for the red science setup just to get it over and done with.
We've successfully automated 2 red signs per second. That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
I automated fast inserters and long boy inserters next. These needed yellow inserters plus more electronics and gears, so it was once again straightforward.
Is that a full perimeter I see on the map?
Maybe.
Oh my goodness. Defense. I mean, my factory is a work of art. No one can deny.
You don't have gun turrets. automated, do you?
Ooh, that's a good idea. Let's automate some gun turrets.
These require iron plates, copper plates, and iron gears, so this bot worked fine.
Green science. Now, what the hell do I need for that? Should I try and get 2 per second again? 6-second crafting time. I'll need 12.
Each green science requires 1 transport belt and 1 inserter, so I needed 2 of those per second as well. I got to work, and all the while Sar was running around like a goose on the loose dealing with alien assaults. Now that we had gun turrets automated, she was setting those up on the perimeter, but she had to admit,
I'm stressed.
Just recruited you to deal with the insects.
Yeah, exactly.
Just chilling.
I soon had all the assembling machines down. Belt work, inserters, electricity, you know the drill. And before long, I was pumping out 2 green juice per second. The red and green science setups sure look pretty, chilling neatly there. But I am terrified to report that future science packs are significantly more complicated. As the assaults continued, Sar carried on her scrambling defense. And my next step was to slap down some igloos, because all those science packs needed a destination. I handcrafted a bunch and settled on a lab lineup of 20 for now. Although while writing the script, I googled it and learned that the base labs use 1 pack per minute, so I had enough to supply a whopping 120 labs. In retrospect, maybe I made too much science juice? I got the red and green moving together on 1 belt, the inserters began to feed the labs, and
We can research so many things. Go military 2 for you. There we go. It's going to be done in like 5 seconds.
Sorry.
You sound very desperate there. Yes, please.
I've been fighting the trenches for so long.
it researched rather quickly, so 20 labs seemed like plenty for now.
We'll get stronger explosive. We'll prioritize all the military things so illicit stress levels can come back down.
I immediately automated grenades. I used a filter inserter to yoink the coal needed from the smelter array, big strats, and having some explosives on hand was great news for blowing up some smelly cockroaches. The upgrades came thick and fast, with an emphasis on military stuff first as promised.
A bunch of the iron miners are not doing anything now. These are all dead.
I placed a few more to ensure enough ore was being served to our starter factory, and then I figured I'd better help my poor wife.
I have done nothing this entire time.
What do you mean?
Like, sparsely handing out ammo and shoring up all.
You got so many turrets down. Holy crap.
And off we marched on a murderous expedition. Except one alien base was a lot closer than I was expecting.
Do you have fish?
Nope.
Oh, you don't have fish. You're dead.
I've been swarmed. I'm dead.
Sorry. I'll take you to get some fish.
The grenades were pretty handy though.
You just got smashed. You suck.
Soon the first hive was cleaned up, and what followed was quite the genocidal rampage. To be fair though, they started it. If they just let me pollute their planet in peace, no violence would be necessary. Sar made sure to snag some fishies, and some of these bases had lots of the big wormy noodles. These dealt acid damage and slowed down movement speed, so it was crucial to focus them down while dodging their projectiles as much as possible. Back at base, the factory chugged along and the labs kept doing their thing, so research kept moving as we swept the countryside clean. I believe aliens only attack if they get a sniff of pollution, so we aim to take out any hives within or close to the edge of our pollution radius. This happened.
Oh no. What? I thought I had my food selected, but apparently not because I didn't heal. I was clicking like an idiot. Oh dear.
Remember that time I told Sar she sucks? Ironic, isn't it? We swept the area south of the base, destroying 2 hives on day 38, and with rank 2 weapon damage and speed research done, these aliens were fairly manageable. They do evolve and get bigger at some point, so I was glad that it was just the little nerds for now. On day 39, we swung west and found 2 hives. Sar nearly died.
Oh, spam fish!
Eat the fish, sir. Spam fish!
And this base had a big chonker of a worm that had way more health to chew through. We took out a few bases to the west, and as we struck north, I remarked,
How have I not found any more iron? This is going to be rough trying to progress.
but moments later we found a fairly large iron node. Kind of far, but not terribly far north of our base. There was a rather large hive nearby too, but because it was out of pollution range for now, and since we were low on grenades and ammo, we decided to leave it be. When we were taking down this hive to the east, Sar ran out of ammo, so she ran back to base to grab more, and down here at this hive, I ran out of ammo.
Whee! Look at me run! Flee!
Sar rescued me and restocked me with ammo, which we used to take out yet more aliens to the east. But when Sar forgot to watch her health and died, and I totally ran out of ammo once again, it was time to call it a day. It was a fairly successful extermination expedition, and would surely reduce the number of assaults our base suffered in the short-term future. I decided we needed more grenades, so I rejigged and upsized our grenade automation.
Alright, so we've unlocked a heck of a lot of stuff here, man. We got the fast transport belts, the fast underground belts, the fast splitter, got all the railway stuff. Oh my gosh. Assembling machine 2s. Got steel furnaces. Bro, I'm doing the jankiest thing you've ever seen in your life here. We'll make it work.
I decided to automate the upgraded belts first, but I hadn't left myself much room to work with, so janky indeed. This was the beginning of a new recording session without Sa, by the way, but don't worry, she returns later. I sent much of the coal line underground to make space, and each tier 2 belt needed its tier 1 equivalent plus some other stuff to be made. So I had underground belts galore and all manner of silly willies to get the right stuff in the right place. This took multiple days for some reason. I think my brain was broken. One key ingredient for all 3 was gears. So I yoinked yet more iron plates from the main line to up the gear production, and on day 44, red belts, underground belts, and splitters were finally automated. Rather inefficiently automated, but automated nonetheless. And of course, all the while research had been chugging along, so stuff kept appearing in my crafting menu, including some very overwhelming looking barrel shenanigans.
At least it kind of looks impressive from the zoomed out view.
I increased the density of Sa's stone mining operation and added an inserter and chest here so stone could stockpile, as I wanted some on hand for more stone furnaces. I claimed a bunch of walls from Sa's wall factory and then moved much of her southeastern defensive efforts because I needed more room for power as we'd almost hit capacity. I added 2 more boilers and 4 steam engines for now.
Little power extension. We'll keep building that down. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
I discovered yet more mining drills had mined their spots dry.
Alyssa literally built on the iron. Silly goose.
I spent day 47 shuffling this northern chunk of Sa's perimeter upward, and I saturated the entire iron node with mining drills. I also realized if you have 2 belts going into a splitter and only 1 coming out, then it's functionally a merger. This should have been obvious, especially because I played this game before, but for some reason it was a revelation to me. And with that tweak to the iron mining setup,
Iron plates are flowing all the way down here again. That's good. Green science is coming back in.
I continued researching advanced electronics this time, and since I'd barely made any non-advanced electronics by this point, I said,
I'm actually overwhelmed, dude. I don't even know what my next move is. This iron node is down to 131k. I need an outpost here and here, just bringing tons of iron in. Should I try and make trains? Should I? I don't know why I'm talking like that.
With that high-pitched voice, it became clear to me, I should make trains. But in order to make rails and locomotives and train wagons and all that good stuff, I needed steel plates. Since the main iron plate line was actually oversupplied with ore for now, I stole a little and fed it into the old iron plate smelter over here. I also kept researching willy-nilly at a rate that was frankly unnecessarily fast.
I think I should be able to do 9 steel things. Is that right?
No, that's wrong. Each steel plate requires 5 iron plates every 16 seconds. That's 1 plate every 3.2 seconds. These iron furnaces literally produce 1 iron plate every 3.2 seconds, so they really did make the maths easy for me, and I still stuffed it up. It should be a 1-to-1 ratio of iron to steel furnaces, so I could have had 12 steel to match the 12 iron. I don't know where I got the number 9 from, but if you look closely, I only placed down 8 anyway, so who knows what happened. And send thoughts and prayers, because this does not bode well for the more complicated maths later on. Either way, I soon had a 2/3 efficient steel furnace lineup, feeding its yield into a chest. Good news. Locomotives need 20 engines, so I converted these 2 random assembly machines into little hand-fed engine factories and began placing the required steel plates, pipes, and gears into the chests. I fluffed around for a bit waiting, and once I had a decent stock of what I needed to get started on a train station, I wandered north. In the world that I actually beat the game on years ago, I used literally 0 trains. I did use trains a little on one other world, but I just stole blueprints from tutorials, so I never really properly understood how trains and train systems work. In other words, the train shenanigans you're about to see are very dodgy. One thing I did recall is that it's prudent to have space for trains to wait in a queue at a station, hence this little loopy-loopy. Although I hadn't brought everything I needed with me, so this is all I got down for now. To kill time, I decided to clear the nearby hives. Otherwise, they'd undoubtedly try to destroy the mining drills once I set them up. But when I arrived at this hive, I discovered some bigger aliens were now spawning. Medium-sized soldiers who took way too many bullets before dying. They were spawning faster than I could kill them, so once again this hive over here lived to see another day. I was at least able to destroy this hive to the east, but not this one because I ran out of ammo. I discovered I could rename the train station, so I named it Iron Mine 1, Dingus Dongus. Unfortunately, my voice didn't record during this recording session for some reason, but I can assure you I was giggling like an idiot because Dingus Dongus is clearly a hilarious name for a train station. I caught some fish on the way home, and once there I was pleased to find a healthy stock of steel plates had been crafted while I'd been gallivanting about. I continued handcrafting more rail stuff with them, mainly tracks, and I should mention I was still churning through research. I wasn't even really paying attention to what I was researching anymore, but progress is progress, I guess. I grabbed some walls too, and on day 54 I headed back up to continue my top tier train system creation efforts. I still wasn't recording my voice, but I can imagine I was saying stuff like, oh no, these trains are gonna crash, 100% they're gonna crash. These rail signals split the track into sections and signal to trains whether to go or not, avoiding crashes. But I was not particularly confident I was using them correctly. After several iterations of the track shape for this station, I decided I was done. So I ran the track all the way back to the northern edge of my base where I created another train station with a similar loopy situation so that there was once again space for 3 trains to queue up. One would sit at the actual train stop and there was room for 2 to queue behind. I whacked down the train at the stop, with 4 wagons by the way, which seems to be the standard size, and I renamed the station Grand Central because Luke Stevens 360 just wasn't cutting it as a name for my main train station. I grabbed some coal to fuel up the train and then added stops to the train's schedule, with conditions to fill up with goodies at the iron mine and to empty all them goodies back at Grand Central. But as you can see, it believed it had no viable path to Dingus Dongus Station, and when I went into the settings for the train up north, it believed it had no path to Grand Central. As expected, I had screwed something up. I hopped into this train and manually drove it up north, just to check if there were any random holes in the track I wasn't aware of, and it drove up there fine, except it went the wrong way on the loop, and I had no idea why, and no idea how to make it go the way I wanted it to go. I fiddled with things the entirety of day 57, but made precisely 0 progress solving my problem, but a quick Google gave me the answer. I needed rail signals on both sides of the 2-way section of the track that connected the station loops, because without these, the trains assume it's a 1-way track, I guess. I don't really know to be honest, but I got it working, so happy days. As they did their loops, I began setting up the iron mine. Firstly, I placed down a bunch of inserters and chests to feed all that iron into each wagon, and then I set up the drills. As a part of this process, I made a blueprint for what I believe is a repeating line of electric mining drills, just to speed up the process of tapping resource nodes a little. Soon I'd placed a juicy 81 drills, which produce almost 45 iron ore per second. In other words, enough for almost 1.5 red belts. I wasn't really sure how to run the belt so that the ore was evenly distributed to the 4 wagons of a train, so it was another case of fiddling around like a goose. My voice was still not being recorded, but I imagine I was saying stuff like, "Oh, what? Oh, wait, what? Hello? Trains." As you can see, I ended up with a smattering of splitters, which I hope managed to split into 4 even lines of iron ore. And I ran each of those belts in a noodly fashion, 1 belt per wagon like so. Before firing up the mining drills, it seemed wise to establish defenses, because once the pollution began pouring forth, no doubt it would enrage some nearby natives. I figured the hives to the northwest would present the biggest nuisance, so I concentrated my defense on this top left corner. It was a bit of a pain trying to evenly distribute my limited ammo supply to the turrets, but I got there eventually. And then it was time to finally run power and get this absolutely glorious train system to work. I hadn't made any of them massive metal long distance power lines yet, so I daisy chained about 50 of these little wooden ones, and as I began setting up the offload inserters and chests, a train arrived with a decent amount of iron in each wagon. Excellent news, it actually worked. The wagons weren't full, because I set a condition for each train to leave 30 seconds regardless of whether the trains were full or not, just because I figured it was a good idea to keep things moving. I have no idea if this is smart, but it sounds smart. So what you can see in these wagons was 30 seconds of iron ore being shoved in by 24 fast inserters. By the time the next train arrived, I'd run power to the offload inserters, and so the offloading did indeed begin. I still had no voice recording at this point, but I imagine I was uttering phrases of abject amazement that it was actually working. Initially, I ran 1 belt to receive all the ore. This was obviously going to create a bottleneck and was a terrible idea. Anyway, I instead did this nonsense, which spread out the offload and utilized both sides of the belts. I may have learned this trick from a tutorial years ago, I can't remember, but if this is a smart way of doing it, I take no credit. It was definitely a tutorial. If this is a dumb way, then that's all me. This train ran out of fuel, which reminded me I needed to set up some kind of refueling apparatus, but for now I just set up some chests and chucked the coal I had on hand in there so it would be loaded straight into the locomotives each time they stopped at Grand Central. I then did these silly willies with the splitters, and I know for a fact placing them like this was my stupid idea, because this didn't work properly and I had to fix it. More on that later. I yoinked some coal from here and belted it up to provide fuel for the trains. And I took a glorious ride on my glorious rails up to the iron mine, just to check if everything up that end was working well. I discovered the chests further up the belts were hoarding all the iron ore, which meant loading up the wagons was working at about half efficiency. I'd upgraded the inserters, so they were now picking up 2 atoms instead of 1. So I decided to limit the stack size back down to 1 for the higher inserters, so that the lower inserters would get a better chance of picking stuff up. This seemed to slightly improve the distribution of the ore, so that was good enough for me.
Steel furnaces are twice as fast as the stone furnaces, therefore I can do...
That's right people, my in-game voice recording is back, and as expected, I sound confused. I grabbed a ton of bricks and got steel furnaces crafting, and I began placing them down over here. This will be to smelt all the train iron ore into plates. This smelter array can be the exact same size, even though these improved furnaces are twice as fast, because the red belts I'll be using are also twice as fast. And when all is up and running, this will use 30 iron ore per second to produce 30 iron plates per second.
Let's upgrade this entire thing, why not?
And so I was distracted with replacing all the tier 1 elements of this smelter array with their tier 2 equivalents, belts, doubling the output. This set me off on an upgrading rampage, replacing yellow belts in particular and turning them red. For most sections of this factory, this was totally unnecessary, but once I got going, I just couldn't stop.
I'm just kind of obsessively upgrading everything. I don't know why.
Next, I attempted to pull in 1/3 of the train's iron ore output, as I wanted to plug this into my original iron plate furnaces so that they could operate at the new upgraded limit of 30 iron plates per second as well. But I was soon distracted by an assault up at my iron mine. There was a bit of damage, but the bugs hadn't broken through.
Alright, at least I had the train right up there. I didn't have to run up there like a plebeian leg user. Imagine using your legs and not a glorious train.
I continued upgrading belts, and I upgraded the furnaces on this little steel plate factory too. On day 69, I finally got back to the construction of this new smelter array, but I once again got distracted from actually finishing it because I decided I wanted to automate a few more things. All of the items I had in mind required steel, but I couldn't figure out a simple way to get steel across here, so I decided to place a dedicated steel setup. I snuck a cheeky assembling machine here to automate assembling machine tier 2 production.
It's so janky, dude. Look at these producing at a very slow rate.
Next, I added some iron stick assemblers here, as these are needed to make higher tier power poles, and I painstakingly set up belts and inserters in a fashion that I believed would work just fine, but...
Oh, these need copper plate. I'm so dumb, dude.
Fortunately, there was a copper line just nearby, so I worked out a way to get the iron sticks and copper plates on the same belt, and in short order, I had both medium and big power poles automated. The medium ones are a more effective version of the little wooden ones I've been using, and the big ones are perfect for long distance distribution of power. Oh, and by the way, Sar was back.
I think some of the aliens are long range now.
Yeah.
Spitting things.
Yeah, it's a problem. It's a problem.
I automated some steel chests too, over here to the left.
Do you automated piercing ammo?
No, not yet. That, I think I'll use this new smelter I'm working on.
Before doing that, I got caught up in another upgrading frenzy. This time I replaced all the tier 1 assembling machines with tier 2s. These craft items 50% faster. I looked into automating military science packs.
10-second crafting time. I want to do 2 a second. I'm gonna need 20. Oh. 4 walls a second, and 2 grenades a second, and 2 piercing rounds a second.
I worked out 2 grenades a second was going to require 16 grenade assemblers, using 20 coal and 10 iron plates a second. So that kind of scared me. But for now, I got on with finishing this smelter array. This is when I realized my train offloading system was not working very well. Look at the rather disappointing trickle of ore heading down that belt. The reason was I'd put belts connecting into the side of these splitters, which obviously wasn't going to work. So I attempted to reposition them, but that wasn't working either. I tried multiple iterations with splitters flying everywhere before finally working out that I needed to stagger them in order for the belt work to function properly. Once I had it done, it looked like this, and that is a nice juicy full red belt. And if you're wondering what Sar was doing all this time, she'd wandered north to tap that other iron node up there, so she was setting up defenses, mining drills, and a train station for that. I fed the iron ore into my new smelting array, yoinked some coal from this line and fed that in too, and finally another line of iron plates was producing. I upgraded all the coal belts to red just to minimize any throughput limitations, and check out where Sar is up on the northern frontier. What a pioneer. I spent all of day 75 staring at the military science pack recipe, trying to wrap my head around how to approach automating. I was literally just standing there, confused. I needed walls, and therefore stone to turn into bricks with which to make the walls, so I figured I might as well set up a mine at this stone node, just a short run north of the base. I spent day 76 getting that set up, and since it wasn't too far, I didn't bother with a train setup. I simply ran a transport belt down parallel to the tracks, but as I was doing that, the aliens got a little frisky.
No. Oh, dude, that's a serious bunch of nerds.
Those 3 bases were churning out some serious alien troops. You'll notice this includes them acid spitters I mentioned earlier.
Defense, defense, defense.
That is right, some defense was in order. I'd hoped the aliens wouldn't bother attacking this far south, since they had whatever nonsense Sar was up to up north to distract them. But clearly I was wrong. I made a blueprint of the upgraded smelter array, but then accidentally deleted my blueprint book, while Sar sang a banger.
Someday, when you are older, you could get hit by a boulder. And I picked up Olivia from school today. She cares. I can say poo poo bum bum now. It's okay.
While Sar regaled me with glorious tales of my 3-year-old daughter's extremely fecal vocabulary, I gathered the items I needed for this project.
Alright, I'm just gonna need a whole bunch of bricks.
I needed 20 bricks a second to make the 4 walls per second I wanted, so I figured I might as well make a full furnace setup, which will produce 30 bricks per second. We really needed the military science packs I was working towards, because they would let us unlock higher military research, which would be quite the help towards keeping up with the alien problem.
Uh-oh, they're breaking through the bottom of the base.
I'm too slow getting all this crap sorted.
Previous alien assaults did very little, but now that they had the ranged acid slugs, turrets were being destroyed despite the fairly thick walls. It was a bad sign. I placed down another 4 steam engines at the power plant, and I thought, no worries, power is under control. But what I didn't realize is that we were beginning to stretch the limits of our little coal mine. And here's the thing about factories, if your electrical power fails you, the whole operation crawls to a halt. Foreshadowing. As you can see on the map, SAR's iron mine operation was coming along nicely, and she was about the business of trying to get the train sorted. She actually asked for my help with it, but I honestly did not know how it would work, adding more trains and more forks in the track and another station, so I just said, good luck. I finished up and connected power to the brick factory here, and I placed down 4 wall assembling machines to make use of those bricks, even though I only needed 2. No big deal though, it shouldn't break the factory. I finally made use of this iron plate belt to get 6 yellow ammo a second crafting, which again was way more than I needed. I only needed 2 per second. I mean, I did warn you, my maths hit its limit back when I was doing green science, and yep, look at me now. I miscalculated the copper plates required too. I thought I needed 30 per second instead of 10, so I upgraded the copper furnaces to account for that imaginary requirement. And have a guess what's next. Yes, that is correct. I used the same incorrect maths to conclude that I needed more steel plates than I actually did. I only needed 2 per second. This entire furnace line smelting operation, when fed 30 iron plates, will only make 6 steel plates per second though. So once again, my incorrect conclusions didn't lead me that far astray. Regardless, my stream of terrible mathematical stinkiness was interrupted.
Can you run to the defense of the north? I don't have any ammo on me.
Coming to the defense of the north sounds like something out of Game of Thrones, so I was all in. Hold fast, Ned Stark. I took a ride in the train and Sar used her legs like a peasant, but she comfortably beat me there regardless, which was a huge step back for trains. But holy moly, look at the carnage up here. Sar has been busy. As you can see, she managed to clear the nearest hive. I believe she placed down turrets to help her achieve this. But the hive just a little further west had a respectable buildup of cockroaches that I very nearly let murder me.
So many spawning, holy crap.
The only way we could possibly take this alien base on was to essentially siege it using turrets, which chewed through the endless wave of soldiers and gave us the chance to actually get close enough to deal damage to the hives. After a long night of combat to rival even the Battle of Winterfell, victory arrived along with the dawn. But what of the south?
Time to attack now, right at the bottom.
While we had won an important battle, the winner of the war would ultimately be the winner of the arms race, and we hadn't researched anything in like 25 days. I shored up the key defensive points in the south, which were all in terrible shape by the way, with many a turret destroyed, and on day 83 I finally got this big line of furnaces producing steel plates. I then began work placing down 8 assembling machines to produce red ammo. 6 of these would produce the 2 per second I needed for the military science packs, and the 2 extra would be overflow to stockpile for us to use reloading turrets and shooting aliens in the face. And you might find it hard to believe, but this was actually the correct number of assembling machines for what I wanted to do. Wonders never cease. This was a significant step forward for us in the aforementioned arms race, as these of course do more damage than the yellow bullets. I then finally realized,
I think I got way too much steel. What the hell did I do?
it's fine, don't worry about it. And then Sar got hit by a train.
What? Oh, such a dingus. I didn't realize I was staying on that train.
Right near Dingus Dongus Station.
Now that I'd finally realized I had an oversupply of yellow ammo and steel plates, I decided to make an extra line of red ammo factories being fed straight into a chest so they'd stockpile at a faster rate. All my incorrect mathematics reaps a reward after all. I cannot believe you doubted me.
Yeah, honestly, if you can bring that iron down here and plug it into this mess, it'll increase efficiency, because I'm using up so much iron.
She needed engines for her locomotive, so I helped her out with that for a bit, and soon she had her train station placed down.
Dongus dingus station.
Dongus dingus, dingus dongus. Beautiful.
I ran some iron plates over here and began work on the grenades needed for the military science packs. A whopping 16 assembling machines to make 2 per second. This was the correct amount of machines, by the way. I was back in mathematical form. Sar was once again having train troubles. She'd connected her station into my existing track, but the trains weren't happy. It turns out there wasn't enough room for 4 trains to queue at Grand Central, so a train was chilling on the track. So she got to work making the Grand Central loop bigger so this wouldn't happen again. The grenade production was chugging along nicely, so I began trying to figure out a smart spot to line up the 20 military science assembling machines I needed. I ended up lining them up over here. The grenades and walls were well positioned to easily belt over, but the red ammo was a bit of a challenge. Underground belts came to the rescue though, and I was soon in business. And finally, I had automated military science packs. After many alien distractions and mathematical fumbles, the 3rd out of 7 science juices were mine. I ran them underground all the way over to the labs, plugged them in, and...
Hey, we can start researching stuff. Let's go straight in for projectile damage, why not?
But then what should have been a moment of triumph became the beginning of a genuine crisis.
Oh, we are running low on coal, baby. This is out of control.
The extensive factory expansion I'd undertaken was obviously drawing lots of power and using up more coal than ever. But most troubling was the whopping 20 coal per second the giant grenade factory was sucking up.
It's just such high demand. We need more coal. We're running low on coal. So next thing we need to do for sure is bring the coal from south in.
But we also had serious problems trying to expand our train system. It turned out Sa made the same mistake I made back when I first worked on the trains. She was missing a rail signal on the other side of the track. So I added one and it seemed to fix the problem.
I think this train can theoretically go, but the other two trains on the first iron mine are hogging it. They're just constantly taking the next turn.
I would wager there's a way to fix this problem with proper use of rail signals, but I did not know what that would entail. Meanwhile, our power had dried up completely. See those flashing red icons on the inserters? Yeah, it's dead. There's no power. And check out this nonsense down here. I'd fiddled with the rail signals a bit and obviously broken it even more than it already was, because now two trains were sitting halfway down the track, just chilling there smooching. Not ideal. And what's worse, some aliens decided to get involved.
No, these are full of iron ore.
When I fixed the track after this carnage, this train, which somehow had survived, went on his merry way, which I thought was funny.
Should we just make 2 different tracks?
This suggestion from Sa was a good one because we knew we could make it work, but I was determined to try and get our existing system working. This was the fruit of my efforts.
Oh, I've got them crashing into each other now.
I mean, that's what happens when you take away all the rail signals, so I don't know what I was expecting to happen. Meanwhile, our entire factory has literally zero power. Sa's out there somewhere trying to keep the aliens from destroying everything, and here I am trying to park this stranded train on this random temporary track. I got the original train system working and disconnected Sa's extension for now. Hopefully aliens don't destroy these iron ore laden wagons, and we turned our attention towards fixing the bigger problem.
It's a disaster. It's a disaster.
I'm sorry, I feel like I broke your base.
No, the coal just ran out. But
The coal just ran out. Okay.
One piece of good news was that we'd stockpiled a good amount of red ammo, grenades, and turrets, so we were well equipped for an expedition. I hand-fed coal to the power plant just to jumpstart it for a temporary burst of productivity, and off I went. I headed to secure the south first, as that's where all the coal was. I fished a bunch to stock up on health regen, and then began systematically destroying alien hives. Meanwhile, aliens in the north got their revenge, ripping into my stone mine again, and I just prayed they somehow wouldn't destroy the nearby trains full of iron ore. I had to put the casualties up north out of mind, and I unleashed havoc on the southern alien population while Sa began setting up a coal mining operation. I once again was aiming to kill any hives in or near to our giant cloud of pollution, and the turret technique served me well as I besieged hive after hive. By the night of day 92, I had swept the south clean, so I headed west, and some of these hives were big uns, that's for sure. And as day 93 dawned, we discovered some new hives that appeared closer to our base, so those suffered my wrath. And with that, the south felt relatively secure, so I helped Sa by running some of these big old power poles back to base. I picked up all this unused coal, hand-fed it into the power plant, and disconnected the entire factory so that the coal could focus exclusively on keeping power going down south.
I'm out of conveyor belts, 'cause I used them all and I'm really far, far away.
Since we didn't have our factory running, I obviously had to handcraft more belts to solve Sa's melodic problem. So I grabbed an enormous amount of iron plates and began handcrafting them red belts. I extended out the power plant a bit, and then it turned out Sa didn't really need that many extra belts because she made it literally right here. So I connected it all up, and suddenly our power plant was flush with coal. Once Sa connected the power to the mining drills, that is. Sa got to work putting up defenses around our new all-important coal mine, and I disconnected the original coal mine from the power setup altogether, and instead allocated what remained of it to the factory's coal needs. I reconnected the power poles to the factory, and everything came back alive, though it was drawing more power than was available. And so I needed to make more boilers and steam engines, except I didn't have those automated, and I still had quite a queue of red belts handcrafting. So I cancelled them all, and I may have caused something of an iron plate spillage. After properly connecting up these two steam engines, the power troubles seemed to be sorted, but I figured I'd better add a few more engines on as a buffer. Sa helped extending out the walls some more, and soon enough we had 8 more steam engines doing their thing.
power should be well and truly in hand. It's also just extra pollution. But you know, got lots of military science chugging along. That's good.
And honestly, despite all the silly willies, I'm actually pretty proud of this circus of a factory. I continued researching military-related stuff, as dealing with aliens was certainly still a primary concern. I had told the trains to stop running because I feared they'd be chewed up by aliens, so we had a severe iron deficiency. These chests here at Grand Central Station were now almost completely empty.
And I think what we need to do is secure the north.
We must secure the north.
Get the train system back in action, and then we'll be back. You know.
Those are the wise words of of a wise man, no doubt. And at this point, Sa and I finished up our gaming session. So on day 97, just me again.
By the way, I have a car now. I totally forgot I researched automobilism, but I have a car now. I could have been using this years ago, but I was a silly goose.
I fixed up the tracks and got the iron train running again before having a joyride in my new car.
Oh, I just crashed. Oh, I just crashed again.
As I drove off to kill some aliens, weapon shooting speed 3 finished upgrading, so I went straight in for weapon damage 4 to continue upping my offensive capabilities. I began clearing nearby hives, and discovered that even without that research completed yet, I was feeling a lot stronger.
I'm doing way more damage. I was falling behind in the arms race for a while, but now with military science chugging along, I am well and truly back in the lead.
Even so, if a hive had a high density of acid-spitting worms, it was still a bit dicey, so I had to rely heavily on turrets to clear them out.
Oh crap. Oh crap, don't kill my car. Ah! Ah! Bro, my car just went flying off into the distance. Come back, car.
I spent day 98 clearing out hives in the east, and on day 99 this hive's extreme worm density scared me off, but it wasn't in my pollution radius yet, so I wasn't too bothered. I continued clearing the north, once again clearing some margins so there weren't any aliens too close to my stinky pollution cloud, and this last one I took out on day 100 was flamin' huge, and I spied something that made me a little worried, even after all my big talk about winning the arms race.
Oh, that's a big boy. Did you see that? That was a big boy. Oh dear. They're evolving.
That was the first big blue biter I'd seen. The third evolution of the soldier aliens that have been bothering me since the early game. They have significantly more health and damage, so it felt somewhat ominous to run into one of these on day 100, but I nonetheless successfully took out one final hive before my time was up.
Alright, all the hives done. I don't care about you silly worms. See you worms. See you worm nerds.
The worms don't spawn enemies and they can't move, so I just left them. See ya, worm nerds, indeed.
Alright, I think that's 100 days, man. We've got a platform for the factory to explode.
Very true. After many a silly willy, I was now decently positioned to forge ahead into oil and plastics and higher tiers of science and military shenanigans. Let me know if you want to see that in a 200 days video. Check out my 100% forager playthrough. It's a banger. Cheers.